Well, a very warm welcome to Manchester. Wherever you are watching this in the world, it is Fight Week, and our Fight Week activities are well and truly underway. You join us in St Anne's Square here in Manchester city centre. Delighted to report that the weather gods have been on our side despite some showers this morning. And what you are watching right now is Adam Azim just having his gloves laced up by star trainer Shane McGuigan. Adam Azim will be part of that massive card on Saturday night. Liam Smith and Chris Eubank Jr. The rematch, will it be repeat? Will it be revenge? Live on Sky Sports box office. Now, some of the undercard fighters have already worked out, and you can see a few interviews from those on the Sky Sports social media channels. But stay with us, because we're going to see Adam Azim hit some pads and go through some last little bits of training. And then in the not too distant future, we are going to have both Liam Smith and Chris Eubank Jr. on the stream. I'm delighted to say that our big fight commentary team of Matthew Macklin and Andy Clark are with me now, and I have to say, in the immediacy of that rematch, I thought to myself, I wonder if we'll see that again. I wonder if we will get the rematch clause invoked by Eubank. But now it's here. There are so many layers to this, so many narratives to this, that I actually think it's in some ways bigger and more intriguing than the first fight.
I agree. I did think for a while that it probably wasn't going to happen. It just began to get that smell about it, didn't it, of a fight that wasn't going to happen. And we kept getting told that it was going to, and then it was supposed to be June, then July the 1st. And when that was all going on, I was kind of having my doubts. But I'm really pleased that it's here, because there are just so many things you can look at, you know, particularly with Eubank. And when someone loses, everybody always looks at what do they need to do differently. I'm just fascinated by how fighters recover from a first stoppage defeat, particularly when it comes late in your career like this, because I think it can be harder the later it comes. But the one thing I kind of really take from that first fight, apart from the drama of it, the drama was amazing. And obviously for Liam, he'll just feel like whatever Eubank's got, he can find an answer and maybe do the same thing again. But watching Eubank on the gloves are off, and watching him in the middle of the ring when he was in that fog where he was hurt and he didn't know where he was, what we discovered about him was that in the middle of all of that, his instinct was to keep fighting. And that would have been massive for him, I think, because he would always have thought that that's what he would do when that happened. But you don't know until it actually happens. If it had turned out that he didn't want to continue, the muscle memory and instinct was to not continue, that would have finished him. I don't think he'd have been able to live with it. I mean, he basically said that, but I don't know, I just look at that and I just feel like he can look at that and think to himself, okay, I was reckless in my approach, thinking that that couldn't happen to me. I know that it can happen to me, but what I also know is that I am here for the long haul. And if I can take Liam Smith deep, and it comes down to who can hold that technique together a bit more and who wants it more, I think he can come through this confidence-wise fairly intact.
Matthew Macklin, from a fighter listening to that, I think Andy hit the nail on the head there. The fascinating dynamic, I suppose, is can Chris Eubank Jr. come to terms with what happened? Those that have seen our shoulder programming and Behind the Ropes, David Hay was very much part of that team, and he said to Chris in the dressing room afterwards, now you know it can happen to you, and it changes you. How do you think Eubank Jr. will be approaching this? I know Liam Smith won. I think there's less to say on Liam Smith's approach because he's already done it once. The pressure surely shifts to Eubank Jr. now. It is do or die in terms of his career at this highest level now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what happened was probably the least expected outcome that could possibly happen first time round. I think lots of people thought Liam would win, but I don't think any of them thought he was going to win the way he won. Particularly Eubank, he probably thought I could be outworked, outsmarted, maybe broken down a little bit, outpointed, but I don't think he thought he could ever be knocked down and hurt as badly as he was and stopped. So, now he knows that is possible. It will be interesting to see how he copes with that mentally, psychologically coming into the fight. Will he, some fighters get knocked out and they're never the same. They become gun-shy. Some people get knocked out. It doesn't really matter.
They can come to terms with it, yeah.
Come to terms with it, and they just think, okay, it happens, it's boxing, I got caught with a shot. C'est la vie, and it doesn't affect them. But and we won't know that until the bell goes and even into the fight. So but that will be crucial. I think tactically, I think if Eubank tries to outbox Smith, he'll be making a mistake. I think what he does have over Liam, certainly over his career, was he's been a super middleweight, and even though he looked a small super middleweight, he looked pretty solid at it. He went 12 rounds with George Groves. It was a massive banger. He didn't really make his physical advantages count in the first fight. He was trying to box and move, and it didn't really suit him. I think he'll be more aggressive in this fight. I don't think he'll be reckless, but I think he'll be certainly more hold his feet more and look to be more aggressive.
Well, there's so much to talk about with that main event, and we will be continuing to dissect it and throw opinions around. But the man in the ring on your screen that we've just seen go through the pad routine there, Adam Azim. Now, Adam always seems to me to be very level-headed. He's got a good family and team around him. But I'm sure, even in his relatively young career of 21 years old, that this will be his first real sense of frustration. Niggling injuries have stopped that momentum that he had, that quite incredible trajectory when you look at it. I mean, it was difficult to think like when he was going to be taking any rounds. Since February, when he went in with Santos Reyes and he got an invaluable, can't put a price on those 10 rounds. He's had that hand injury, he's had one or two other tiny minor problems. He'll be desperate to get back in there on Saturday night against a real step up in quality on paper. And I say that on paper because I don't think we really know how good Aram Fanyan is. But certainly on paper, this looks like a good fight.
Yeah, it's a good match. It's a good match. I think Shane's obviously instrumental in making his matches, and they've got a great record, McGuigan's gym, at bringing people through at the right pace. You look at two opposite ends of the spectrum in John Sonic Amateur, who move really quick, Chris Billam-Smith, who not nearly as much as expected of, and they got him through to world champion as well. So they know how to do it any which way, and not everybody does. He will be boiling with frustration. There's no question about that. It was a kind of an inflammation or an infection with the hand, I think, wasn't it? That was the
right
problem.
on the knuckle, yeah, and it swelled up. It was you would see it, and like in my limited boxing experience, I have zero medical experience. That might shock you, Matt. I'm not a doctor, but I saw that and I thought that's a knuckle or a bone, but actually it wasn't. It was all muscular. So yeah, the swelling went down. It was just unfortunate more than anything.
Yeah, and hopefully that's not the kind of thing that'll reoccur, but hand issues might be something he has to cope with throughout his career because he punches really hard and he's wearing 8-ounce gloves, and he probably always will because he needs to get up to super welter before you get to 10-ounce. But Fanyan's kind of interesting because he's got a good record. He's Armenian born, now living out in Ukraine. That's a pretty tough school. He hasn't really boxed anyone. The one defeat came against an 11-0 opponent. And one thing you do notice about him a bit when you watch him, and this made me fear for him a bit, is that he can tend to lean into his jab a bit and bring that jab back a bit low, and he's got to be very careful about that. He can't do that against Azim, or he could really be in trouble. But as I say, the McGuigans will have done their homework and they will feel like he's the right guy for him at this stage.
So we're going to keep talking here, but in the ring, on your screen there is Savage Dan with both fighters, Adam Azim and Aram Fanyan. We're going to keep going, as I said. Matt, with these fights, you see someone like Aram Fanyan, and we all look on the box rec and the records, and we have had some fights sent in. It's interesting you mentioned the one defeat was against Renny Tellez, who was actually going to be on this card. Yeah, I know, out of nowhere. But that fight fell through fighting another Brit. How much can we gauge from what we see? I mean, Fanyan actually did a full workout earlier on and hit the pads. I mean, he looks competent. He's been preparing with Victor Postol, who, proven quality. There's probably going to be a language barrier here. It's going to be quite interesting to see how much they have to say to each other.
Yeah, look, I think the main thing for me is that he's come in with, he's only got that solitary defeat, which is to another undefeated guy. So there's ambition there. He's coming to win. From what I've seen, he looks fairly well schooled. But I think with Azim, he's just got that speed, and that speed's hard to beat.
I can just via the translator there. We're not going to get any English. I'm actually going to break rank, and I'm actually going to go straight to Shane McGuigan. Shane, we're live on Sky Sports Stream. I presume you want to hear this, but
I do.
I'll translate for you. The word we were using there with Adam is he's so level-headed, but he will have had that boiling frustration of young prospects, they want to keep going, and he had that amazing momentum. How have you kept him sort of calm, especially watching the gym progress? As McGuigan's gym, they're competitive, but he's had to sit by and watch Ellie Scotney, CBS, and the others flourish.
That's the thing. He's in a thriving gym, but also he's been boxing very regularly. So obviously last year he had 6 fights, I'm pretty sure, within the year. So it feels like a long time, but really on the grand scheme of things, it's not that long. And he's had a training camp that he went the whole way through. So obviously he didn't get the experience going in there and boxing as a headline against Aram, but really he's got that opportunity now. So, and then we'll kind of keep the momentum going and have another one before the end of the year.
It's very rare that you guys make mistakes because you do your homework and you've got a lot of experience now. When this fight appeared on paper and I looked just solely on box rate, and you'll say, well, you're an idiot, you looked solely on box rate, but he's got a great record. There's no big names on there, but he looks well schooled as well, and he's come from a pretty decent camp. This is a risk, is it?
Of course, every fight's a risk in boxing. It's about a measured risk, and I think this puts us in a great stead with the European rankings. He has to fight someone high up in the rankings, and this is the guy. So arguably, it's a harder fight than for the European title, but we've got to get through it. And if he's as good as I believe he is, he's going to beat this guy pretty convincingly.
Yeah, I suppose there's nothing wrong with aggressive matchmaking when you have full confidence and prepare correctly. That's the lesson here.
Well, we've done it time and time again, with the former world champions we've had in the gym, and I think these are the fights that hold them in really good stead when they get up to world level. So it's going to be an invaluable experience on Saturday night.
Damon, I'm just going to turn you around because momentarily I'm sure they are going to face off and we want to see this. Just about the hand, it's one of those real bizarre injuries. I don't think we had seen it before. Hands are all okay. It's the nature of the business. He hits people hard and he's going to probably have hand injuries, but it's not something you're dwelling on too much. It's not something we need to be overly concerned about.
No, definitely not. I mean, he's got, at the end of the day, it was an infection. It wasn't a knuckle issue. There was no fracture. There was no break or anything like that. So it was just, it was no ligament issue either, which is just literally the swelling came up after a spar and he got it cupped. And, next thing you know, it's got infected and it's just one of those things. So very frustrating, but he's in a great place right now. His hands are fine. He's gone through all the sparring, no injuries whatsoever. So very happy with it.
Perfect. And everybody's well in the gym. Condolences to Ellie Scotney, who I think tragically lost her nan, who was such a big supporter yesterday. So everyone at Sky Sports Boxing wants to send best wishes to the Scotney family. And
I'll pass that on.
yeah,
for sure.
and I see CBS going from one dangerous sport to another, watching the F1 go around at 100 mile an hour. He looks like he's enjoying hopefully a little bit of downtime, although I'm sure he wants to get back sooner rather than later.
Yeah, it's looking like a November date for CBS, so he's going to start camp pretty much after this weekend. We're going to start full camp, so in a good place. And we need to get a date locked in and then hit the ground running and get his first defence of his world title locked in. So he's had an amazing year. And let's top it off with an even better one, the first defence.
Perfect. I'm going to try and get through this crowd here because, Russ, I'm sorry to interrupt what I'm sure is a fascinating story. Adam Azim is with us. Adam, we're live on the Sky Sports stream. I'll let you get your jacket on, so apologies. I've jumped on you there. No, you're looking good. You're looking good. Hair's looking good as well. Face to face with Aaron Fanyan there. He had one or two things to say as well. This looks like a good test on paper and a fight that you've been asking for. You've had the frustrating delay, but how are you in your preparation for this one? How excited are you on a big platform on Saturday night?
I'm feeling really, really good. As you guys see on the pads, I'm looking sharp, looking powerful. Everything's there. I feel like Fanyan looks a bit worried, and I feel like there's going to be a demolition job on Saturday. But he's enthusiastic to win, but I'm winning bigger on Saturday night.
I know there's a language barrier, but he managed to get hold of your Instagram and send you some DMs, didn't he? What was all that about?
I don't think he sent me DMs. I think his team kept tagging me in most of the stuff, but it doesn't faze me at all. It just seemed like he's trying to enjoy the moment. Every boxing show you have to enjoy the moment, right? Yeah. And hopefully afterwards, we can be friends. But in the rings, we're not friends right now. So,
what about the hands? You've had frustration. No real major injury, just little niggling ones. How are the hands? You're obviously looking like you're hitting hard on the pads. Back to full fitness?
Full fitness, ready to go, and I feel like the super lightweight division right now for me is the perfect slot and the weight for me, and I just can't wait to put a performance on Saturday night.
Obviously, we're always looking about what's next, and Shane McGuigan's just told us there that he thinks that this could potentially be a tougher, trickier fight than the European title. Is that your next goal now? Get through this on Saturday night, hopefully, fingers crossed, and then it's on to the European title. Is that what you want next?
100%. You know, let me get this Saturday night done. Hope you get that knockout victory, get that win, and then we'll talk about the European title afterwards. But I feel like this is the most toughest test for that European slot, and I have to put myself into positions like this, take tough fights like this, and then move on to the next one.
And just a quick one, you don't have to dwell on it, but it's worth mentioning. You've been very vocal in this one about family tragedy. Your mum lost her father, your granddad, and I know Hassan went out to Pakistan for the funeral. You've had to stay here and train, but you are dedicating this fight to your family.
Yeah, definitely. This fight is dedicated to him, and it's been a frustrating couple of weeks that obviously I had the loss of my granddad, and this fight is dedicated to him. And he would have, obviously, I wanted to go to his burial, but unfortunately he would have told me that if he was still alive, he would have told me that, you've got to still train and, work on your fight. So I'm doing this for him.
Well said, and we wish you all the best of luck. Good to catch up with you. Send your best to the family. Damo, we're going to get you to walk. Just follow me over here. Let's link back up with Andy Clark. You know what? I really. Do you know what? I'm going to jump on him. He's right here. Andy, let's get the main man. Come and stand next to Andy Clark. Well, Joe, we're live on the stream. Just talking. No, please, do me a favour. Help me out over it. We spoke to you yesterday, and we put out a clip that did really well about the main event. What will you be looking for today? I mean, all eyes will be on Eubank and Smith. Perhaps more eyes on Eubank and Bomac because of this new link up. You've worked with Liam, but Bomac's a good trainer. He's just coming off that great Terence Crawford win. But time is your enemy, but it's also your friend. You sense they haven't had that long to forge a chemistry and a partnership. How important is that bond? And can you do that in a matter of weeks for Eubank Jr. and Bomac?
I can get on it. I've done it. Matthew Macklin's first fight with me was for the British title against Elcott. Scott Quigg's first fight for the British title was with me. So it can happen, but you've got to click well and have an understanding. Now, Bomac has said in his interviews that Eubank Jr. has been listening and he has been very coachable. I think Eubank Jr. is in the last chance saloon, so he's got to listen to any type of advice. But you've also got to give credit for Eubank Jr. to take himself out of his comfort zone down in Brighton, away from Ronnie and them boys, and take himself out of Vegas and invest in himself, because he's paying for himself to invest in himself to come back a better version. Is there anything he can do better to being Liam Smith? Not being biased, but I don't think there is. I think Liam Smith's a very good fighter. I think Liam Smith's a very good boxer. You can't say Chris Eubank Jr. is a very good either of them. He's a good fighter, but he's not a good boxer, and he chose to box last time and came and stuck. For him to come and try and have a fight, you're picking the wrong person to come and have a fight with. He'll stand and have it with you. Will they have time? Only time remains the same. Last time Bomac was here, he was with Amir Khan. That didn't work. And his body of work at the moment, you can tell me whether I'm right or wrong, is Terence Crawford. I'm not sure any other fighters. You might have to pull me up and I might be wrong. And that's not a slant or anything, but I'm just saying his body of work amongst Terence Crawford, and what a body of work it is. But it just remains to be seen. He's coming here now. Eubank Jr. most probably did last time think, yeah, I'm 50-60%. Beefy, yeah, I remember sparring him, it wasn't much. And did take it up where Liam was like, I can't lose to him. Now Eubank's most probably is coming 100%, but Beefy can't think he's just got to rock up and land the right hand. But no one Beefy thinks he can, and he most probably will, and we could get rounds 4, 5, 6 again. It's that intrigue and how Eubank handles when it starts getting hit early on again.
I'm going to come back to you because you mentioned the buzzword there, sparring, and we never really quizzed you. But I wonder if you agree, Andy, that will it be where we left off, which was up until the knockout, which was actually a boxing match. Nobody was really committing apart from that series of uppercuts. I feel deep down, and you can perhaps say if I'm right or wrong, that there is a real firefight there. Both guys we've seen get involved in that real, not a swing up, but a real entertaining sort of gritty fight. And I wonder if we might see that this time round with what we saw in the first fight.
I feel like Eubank needs to go back to what has always worked best for him, and that is that high intensity, high punch output. relentlessness. He'll be a little bit more wary about his chin now, but I don't think that's a bad thing, because this idea that it can't happen to you, like we said previously, is dangerous, because it can. You know, it doesn't mean you think it will, but you need to accept that it could. Liam Smith just arriving over our shoulder now. The question for me is, has Eubank still got that in him or not? Because it's been a while since we've seen it, and really we saw it at super middleweight, and I feel like people always talked about how he's not really a super middleweight, but he obviously had loads of energy at super middleweight. He had great punch resistance at super middleweight, and maybe it's not the same at middleweight. But the question I've got for you, Joe, is with Liam, before that last fight, Eubank wound him up. He found Eubank's company irritating. You could see that it niggled him, and that works for someone like him, doesn't it? And he was being told, oh, you know, you can't hurt him, you can't stop him, and Eubank was continually going on to him about, you know, stretched out like the old dog that you are, you know, and all that kind of stuff. But he's done it now. He's stopped him. He's done it. Is there any chance that he might not be able to get as up for this one as he was for the first one?
I'd have to say, through experience, Liam Smith, when we fought Liam Williams in that same arena, was a brutal fight. And second time, I thought to myself, Liam needs to be on it, but he didn't. He was even better, and he boxed, and everyone expected blood and thunder, and we boxed and won quite convincingly in points. Liam Smith isn't that type of kid. Liam Smith, even that one round that Sky showed of Eubank Jr., that would have been absolutely looked at, studied, dissected and everything. Just that one round that was shown that night, that's the intensity of Liam Smith. He would have gone through everything. He's a very good student, and like I said to you the other day, he doesn't get credit, but when he's in front of your face, he's downloading data all the time. We said it about Lomachenko, but he might not be doing anything. He'll be fainting, he'll be watching how he'll be coming back. And I don't think Chris Eubank Jr. One point that I will make, Eubank Jr. is going into a fight this time with a corner that feels like a team. Last time I was ringside commentary, Eubank Jr. just looked a lonely man on his own, and the corner.
Exactly what Andy said. Like he was a lone wolf. He walked to that ring by himself. Yeah, I think it was Groves that said it. But yeah,
he's gone to the guillotine, and the people that were in the corner, they didn't look like they had the confidence in what was about to just happen either, whether it be Roy Jones or Ronnie. There was a sheepishness of all of them in the corner. You look across, and there's Team Smith, and they're like, we're coming now. That's a different mentality this time. He's going in and I've got him and I've got him. So we'll see. I just thought his posture yesterday in the head to see already with Eubanks just seemed to be a little bit different than it was first time. I don't know whether you thought that. Did you think that?
Well, there wasn't space up on the roof for me, so I've only seen the same footage as you. I sat in the bar as the PFA Awards. Yeah, I couldn't get in the lift. Let me just ask you one quick one before we've got 1 minute till Liam Smith works out. It was your photo that caused the eruptions. You were there for the spar. Having watched that spar, because we're Sky Sports box office, if we hear that there's contentious sparring, look, that's gonna go through the roof. It became a storyline. From the spar that you saw first time round, did anything happen in that spar that happened in the first fight that made you go, yeah, that's exactly how I thought it would go?
I'm not going to sit here and be smart after the event.
I would if I were you.
No, because I don't want to be enough.
Yeah, but whatever you say, you're going to get stiff.
Yeah, no. But I just thought to myself, in that spar, Liam felt like it was a challenge because he was up to spar, I think, Paul Smith, and I think Mundo didn't spar, so he sparred Liam, and Liam thought, right, I'll test myself. And he went in there, and obviously the spar went well, and Liam landed it. And I just thought, then Liam thought, after that, nah, I couldn't get you. I think they only sparred, 4-6 rounds. But you know, Liam's mentality is like, yeah, 12-round fight, I can't swear, but I do you. Do you understand? And that's Liam's mentality, and I think that carried into the fight.
Thank you so much for joining us. Always good. Good luck with Mark Heffron, Jack Cullen. They both talked it up. Yeah, and they both talked it up on the stream. Sorry, on our social media clip. So I'd say to everyone, go and consume that. Yeah, we're looking forward to it. It's going to be a good fight.
You're looking forward to that. Well, put it on chief support. Thank you.
And there he is, Joe Gallagher. Right, I'm going to spin you around because here we go.
Join us for the open workout as we head towards this Saturday's blockbuster show live from the AO Arena here in Manchester on Sky Sports Box Office. Will it be repeat or will it be revenge? It is my pleasure to introduce to you the individual looking to repeat this Saturday. He comes to us from Liverpool, England, with a professional record of 33 victories versus 3 defeats and 1 draw, and 20 of those wins coming by way of knockout. And 1 of those 33 wins took place here in Manchester back in in January. Introducing British Commonwealth and WBO Super Welterweight Champion of the World. He is known as Beefy. Here is Liam Smith.
So here is Liam Smith, the man who holds that win over Chris Eubank Jr. here in Manchester earlier this year. Declan O'Rourke in the light blue t-shirt you can see in the corner there, part of that training team of Declan O'Rourke and Joe McNally on such a successful run with a real buzzing gym at the Rotunda. Andy Clark, I want to ask you about this one. It's just been fed to us. Ideally, we'd want both main event fighters here, and we'd get that nice shot of Eubank Jr. Watching Liam. Eubank Jr. either by design or accidentally he's running late. Liam Smith says, well, I'm not waiting around, I'm getting on with my work and I'm getting out of here. So that is why Liam Smith is just going through a little bit of shadow boxing here, but he says, I'm not waiting, as is his right, and we're probably not surprised by that.
No, not in the slightest. I think that's just a sign of what an experienced fighter he is, how comfortable he is with the whole situation, because he's not interested in any kind of games. It's not important to him that he's on last because it's Smith against Eubank. He's just not into any of that stuff. He's been doing this a long time. He knows who he is. He knows what he is. He knows what he can do. And he knows what happened in January. And he looks very, very relaxed. It'll be interesting to see what he's like around Eubank. Maybe we won't see it today. We'll definitely see it tomorrow. We'll see it at the weigh-in. But we saw it on the gloves are off. He was very, very at ease with the whole situation, because whatever Eubank says to him, all he has to do is just say, well, what happened last time, Chris? That's all he has to do.
I'm just going to take a very small risk. Johnny Nelson is with me. Stay there, guys. I'm just going to see if I can actually talk to Joe McNally up on the ring canvas. So, Declan, just a real quick one. We're live. I know you hate this. So I haven't asked for permission. Very, very quick one. You've worked alongside. We watched Behind the Ropes. That team is still the same. Liam's just shouting, thank God we haven't got a footy, because those of you that watched first time round, he nailed me with the ball. What's the dynamic been like this time round when you know you've got a knockout victory over Chris Eubank Jr.? Is it just more of the same, or are you trying to sort of reinstill, look, he's still to be feared, he's still a good fighter?
Well, we never left no stone unturned the first one's been the same as this one, mate, and I'm fully expected the same again. Another knockout, and Liam's very, very confident doing it.
As a Liverpudlian in Manchester, to see Damon, I'm just going to get you to turn 90 degrees. If you can see the workmen on the arches, look, every time the chorus drops on this, he's got plenty of support here, Liam Smith, and we shouldn't forget we are in Manchester, but yeah, Manchester City Centre has come to a standstill with Liverpool. So just to confirm, you think stoppage again?
1,000,000%, mate. Yeah, repeat.
Good to see you. I'll leave you in peace. Okay, I'm just going to make my way back round to ringside. I get the impression that Liam's not going to do too much. Johnny Nelson and Matt Macklin are with me back at ringside. What are we looking at here? We know what we're getting from Liam Smith. He is just going to go through the motions, but I do believe what Joe Gallagher's right. He is so underrated in what he does, Liam Smith.
You know what? I heard that Liam's been a bit snappy this week, and I like the sound of that. I like the sound of that because it shows that he's not taken for granted. He's not dropped the ball and thought it's a done deal. I've done it before, I'll do it again. With him being snappy, with him being a bit off, with him being a bit sensitive, that means he's taken Eubank as serious as he did the first time. Because it'd be very easy to be complacent and think that's a done deal.
What about that dynamic? When you've knocked a man out and you face him again, it must be almost impossible not to have a little bit of complacency creep in. But I suppose he's too experienced to let that happen.
Well, he's too experienced. He's far too experienced. And then you look at if I was him, I'd think, you know what, I want to make a bigger impression, because he was insulted that Chris, tongue-in-cheek, said, yeah, it was the elbow, it was this, it was that. And he's like, what? This guy's serious. You know what I mean? You don't like those kind of jokes. He takes it serious. And so therefore, Chris doesn't realise he's creating a rod for his own back. And so now when he's in there, now he's thinking, I'm going to proper smash it more than I did the last time. What can Chris bring different? If he goes to outsmart a guy that's smarter than him, it's not going to happen. He's got to outfit him. He's a fit kid. He's got to take it to him, put the pressure on him. The problem is this, and I use Matt in an example with a lot of it. I'd heard Chris, move to a new trainer 4.5 weeks ago. what can a new trainer teach you in 4.5 weeks? Because remember this week you're doing nothing, right? So therefore, that's 3 weeks.
You've got a week disrupted with travel.
Yeah. That's 3. Well, I'm trying to do him a favour. That's 3 weeks. This week you're doing nothing, so he's not learning anything this week. The first week, maybe the first half a week, it's about understanding translation. What do you mean by slip to the left or drop your knees or drop the shoulder? It's understanding the terminology. That's half the week gone. So now you've got 3 weeks left. In that 3 weeks, how many times are you training? So say, for instance, they're doing technical work 5 times a week, once a day. That's 15 sessions of training he's had with this new trainer in such a big fight. What does that tell you? It tells me Chris is not learning because he's got to listen. It's not until 5-10 years down the line I'll think, God, if I've got myself to this level to do a pay-per-view and get so high in my career, but just not high enough, if I'd have listened, what difference would it have made? And that's his problem. And that arrogance winds Liam up to think, you don't need a trainer. You think you're smart enough to beat me and what I've done, the people that train me. And that's what winds this young man up.
Just for clarity, Bomac was on the podcast yesterday and I put it to him, time in this essence is surely your enemy. And he said we were working together slightly before, but he wouldn't put a timestamp on it. You know,
he's a gun for hire. That's what he's a gun for hire. And he's not going to knock it back. He'll be getting paid handsomely. Any trainer would take it. Now, and so to come in at 4.5 weeks, any trainer would do it. It's rubbish, complete and utter rubbish. And that's why I'm thinking, and the stuff I'm hearing in the gym don't make me comfortable. You know, so I'm thinking, you know what, there's an arrogance there that, boy, in 5 years' time, you're going to think, if I'd have only listened, if I'd have only done it this way. He's not his dad. And his dad Chris Sr. can't complain about Chris Jr. because his son is single-minded. He's got himself to a level of this level here without listening. If he listened, can you imagine what he could do?
That's fascinating. What an insight. The other side of that argument is what Joe Gallagher just said, and he mentioned your name. I think for the Alcock fight, you and Joe Gallagher had a matter of weeks to work together. You know, unfortunately for you, whenever there's a change of trainer story and how you get the best out of trainers, we come to you. But it worked. Like, the truth be known, it worked for you. It didn't. I don't think it really hindered you switching trainers.
Yeah, but did you regret it? Do you regret doing that in your career, chopping and changing?
Yeah, definitely. Because you're constantly. You're better off fine-tuning what you're doing. But if you've got a new trainer, you're starting again, aren't you? Because he'll have a different approach. They're trying to add a little bit, make adjustments, and so you never really master that one way of training. And with Joe, it was different because we had 10 weeks, and before that, I'd been kind of flirting with the idea of training with him. But the difference he made really was my mental approach. He got me a little bit fitter. He pushed my buttons a bit harder. And, the term he used, that got me the eye of the tiger back. He got that out of me. It was, but I just think where Eubank is at this stage in his career, like Johnny said, Bomac's a gun for hire. Like he was a gun for hire with Amir Khan. He is what he is. He's not going to change now. And like I say, it took you a few weeks just to get on the same page terminology-wise. What he's asking me to do, is he understanding what he's asking? I know that sounds very simple, but sometimes he might say something and he might think, does he mean that? Does he not mean that? And he doesn't want to ask him because he feels like he should know.
I'm just wondering as to whether or not, while we wait for a couple of sound issues with Sabdan, if I should jump in there and interview Liam. I think our colleagues at Sky Sports News are going to do it. Matt, may I ask, in terms of the fight, I said it to Andy, deep down I wonder if there is still that firefight in there that I think we actually expected, and that's not to say a swing-up, I mean a high-quality one, but I think we always felt that a fight would break out in centre ring, and it never did. I still harbour dreams that could happen. I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, me too. And I think I think that it probably will, because I think if Eubank's getting caught, he'll stand and have a fight. I don't think he'll throw the towel in. Do you know what I mean? I think he'll go out on his shield if he has to go out.
Well, he said, hasn't he? Don't bring a towel. I mean, that was Roy Jones he was talking about, but presumably he will have said the same thing to Bomac. Don't bring a towel.
Yeah. And look, I don't think there's any question in his minerals. Do you know what I mean? So I think, if he's getting beaten, I think he will stand and fight.
Well, just while we're waiting for Liam, we'll just fill in vision here. You couldn't hear that. Declan O'Rourke said 1,000,000% we're knocking him out again.
Listen,
I'm not a betting man, but those are pretty good percentages.
I believe he believes that, and listen, I'm not doubting it.
What about you, Johnny? I mean,
I think it's repeat. I think it might not be as early. I think it's repeat. I think, again, the stuff you hear on the floor, you just think, come on, man. It's such a big fight. You could make such a difference. When we did the gloves are off, the question was asked, do you quit after this? And he didn't answer the question. He doesn't quit because it's a big money fight after that for him. And that's what he's done. He's got himself to this position where he can get knocked out twice, because that's probably what's going to happen, and still fight a big fight. This is what he's done. So can you imagine if this young man listened?
Yeah, the only thing I'd say is Chris Eubank Jr., you get the impression, we hear about these things deliberately. You know, he's not a man who makes mistakes. He's very cautious about the narrative and the storylines. The fact that you're hearing things like that, is there, you might not agree, but is that because they're being put out there as a smokescreen by Eubank? Very rarely does Chris Eubank Jr. make mistakes in the PR world.
I hear it from coaches that are in the gym watching the sparring. I'm hearing it from the sparring partners. So this isn't third-hand information. This is information that is kosher, it's proper, and it's on point. And so when you're hearing stuff like this, and I've heard it from 2 different sparring partners that went at the same time, that have had the same success. So what I'm saying to you is, one I'm hearing I don't like, one I'm hearing I just think, come on.
I'm just going to break away, Johnny. Liam, I'll borrow you for 60 seconds while they're just waiting to fix a couple of audio issues. No Chris Eubank Jr. at the moment, so you just said, well, I'm not waiting, I'm getting my work done and getting out of here.
Yeah, like I said, look, all this, his day sad last time, everyone waited on him, yourselves included, everyone, it was all on his say-so. I don't have to do that now, you know, I'm not sitting here playing the Chris Eubank game. It's about me this time, and like I said, I'm turned up on time. I'll do my workout and I'll go. I don't need to wait for Chris. I don't need to watch Chris. I've seen all I need to see of him anyway.
Yeah, I sense you're enjoying this though, because you are the A-side. Very clear in the post-fight interview. You know, on my terms now. This whole fight week is on your terms. Are you enjoying that you can twist the knife a little bit in that respect?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just enjoying. I don't have to bow down to waiting on his terms. You know, everything last time. His whole career's been involved around that. You know, everything's on his terms. He does what he says. It's what he says. What he wants to do. If he doesn't want to do that, he won't do that. He didn't want to touch gloves with 2 hands in the first promo video. You know, he has to bow down to them now. He has to do what others want to do and what I want to do. So I don't need to wait around for him no more.
No, 2 quick ones before I let you go. Declan O'Rourke, he doesn't say much. I said, what happens this time? I said, 1,000,000% we knock him out again.
Yeah, like I said, look, all the predictions last time for Liam Smith was Liam Smith beats him on points. Everybody knows now Liam Smith can knock him out also. So that's come into everyone else's predictions again this time. There's not many predictions last time Smith stops him. So everyone else thought, oh wow, Smith can't hurt him now. And that's why I believe people are confident in that result happening again. But I'm confident regardless, whether I knock him out again or whether I beat him on points. I'm a better fighter than Chris Eubank.
I'm going to try and ask this one from a safe distance as well, but you're a veteran, and I'm sure that there's things in place to guard against complacency, but when you've knocked a man out like that, it's so hard not to get complacent that you could do it again. Help me out here.
I get asked this question since I was 32, 33, 34, now 35. My results speak for themselves. When I perform complacent, then tell me after it. But I just feel my results are speaking for me training in the gym. I'm not complacent. I've got too good a family and too good a team to go into a fight complacent.
No, and I mean that question loaded with respect. And you've got some crowd here today. A Liverpudlian in Manchester. Your words, that was one of the best fight atmospheres you've had. For a public workout, I think half the workforce in the fluorescents are out chanting Beefy Smith's Barmy Army. It must be a real confidence boost. You know, this isn't your home territory. People forget that.
It is, yeah. You know, and like I said last time, take football out of it. Manchester Arena's good as home for me. I think my record there got posted a couple of days ago. You know, Chris has tried as hard as now to jump on the Manchester United football thing to maybe get more fans this time round, but boxing fans are not stupid. Take football out of it. I'm the home fighter here, mate, and I think going off today's atmosphere, Saturday night's going to prove the same.
Just delighted that you didn't bring a football this time round. I still haven't forgiven you, but good to see you. Take care, Liam. Yeah, those of you that watched the first open workout, Liam Smith pelted me with a football. No, Russ, I'm sure it was a great story. Back to back. No. Let me guess. We're not arguing about pool snooker. We're arguing about low blows, surely.
Yes, we are.
Guys, it's Wednesday. Come on, help us out. Liam just said they're too long in the tooth to wait for Chris Eubank Jr. He's enjoying being. I can hear a few boos, so I think.
Yeah, he's in.
He's in. Yeah, I can. Damo, I'm just going to get you to look at the door there, because I'm sure that eventually in that melee we will see Chris Eubank Jr., Brian Bomac McIntyre and the team Plenty of booze, as I said. Yeah, I nearly got my head punched in because I asked Liam about complacency. You know, when you've knocked a man out like that, I'm sorry, but it is human nature.
We just had this conversation. You don't like that kind of conversation.
No, yeah, but you know, I fail to believe because we're humans. Like, even if it's a 1% thing, you got to.
He was even upset about the 60% remark, even though it was a tongue-in-cheek. He was even upset when he talked about being filleted. He was even upset about him coming in with a KFC jacket on. So why do you think going up to him and saying that he's complacent? He's a serious guy when it comes to
said,
fighting.
how do you guard against complacency? But I tried to do it from a safe distance. But he said, you know, you would have asked me the same question at 32. You would have asked me the same question at 33. I've done this long enough. I know not to be complacent. And I for one, I do believe him. Very, very interesting, though, that he is enjoying being the A side. Not, you know, he can work out when he wants, doesn't have to wait for Chris. He can leave when he wants, doesn't have to wait for Chris. Liam Smith, probably with his body of work, has earned this. You know, he has earned to be the A side, not just in the Eubank 1 fight. He's had such a long career, you know, in victory and in defeat. He has earned the right.
It would have hurt his pride not being the A side the first time round, because he's thinking, I've done this from being a kid. This guy's come across and he's a gimmick, and you made him the A side. So he's upset with us. He's upset with everybody else or anybody else that thought he wasn't the A side. Yeah. He did, and all these people did. And again, now he's got that chip on his shoulder saying, "No, I'm not happy about that."
So, sorry, we're live on TV. Yeah, Matt Macklin's just going over to our colleagues at Sky Sports News. I don't want you to think that I've fallen out with Matt and I want him away. No, I know. Russ is here. Let me talk to you. We're live.
We're live.
We are, so please don't swear. Let's not get into this. No, I'm not doing this. I'm not.
Tennis expert now.
I'm not doing this. Off camera, I believe these two are having quite a vociferous, let's say, friendly discussion. How is Beefy? We've been talking a lot about what he did in The Gloves Are Off and stuff that's been on camera, but being in and around him, how's he been?
Normally you would expect him to see him grumpier than he was today, right? You saw him smiling and whatnot. He was good. Yeah. I got out of Liverpool because I was scared how grumpy he was going to be making weight for the week, but he's good, so it's not bad. I'm happy with it. Yeah. I'm happy with it, yeah.
He is full of smiles, and I don't think anyone's really expected Liam to struggle at the weight, but we all get older and it doesn't get easier. I'm not saying it gets harder, but it doesn't get easier. But there's a good team there at the Rotunda. I don't think I've sung their praises enough in Declan O'Rourke and Joe McNally and the coaches there, and they've got a good group of fighters as well. You've worked with good teams. Good teams are integral, surely, to success.
Yeah, 100%. And that's you hit the nail right on the head. It's a team, and it's not just an I factor, and it's not egos. The goal is to make sure he's ready and do everything can for him and make sure that he's on. And there's nobody trying to say, I'm in charge. Hey, I'm the boss. No, everyone's working together with the primary goal being Beefy's success, and that's the most important thing. And the truth be told, he's such an easy guy to work with, and I told you this before, but now Johnny can hear it for the first time. Sky Sports should be airing his fights in black and white because he's a throwback fighter. He's a guy that should have fought in the 1950s. He should be aired in black and white.
Yeah, I agree with you. Great to have you on again. Did you play snooker or pool last night?
I did indeed. Yeah, it was a good night last night. I had a good time. I'll be going back there later today. So you could find me. You know where to find me.
I don't deserve a shot at the title champ. Like, you text me
but
saying...
I'll tell you who does. Prince Nassim deserves a shot. And we challenged each other in Poland. So I'm waiting for the Prince to come out. Prince, if you're there, I'm waiting for you in Manchester, okay?
Don't do it. We probably haven't spoken enough about Bomac, really. I know you mentioned like gun for hire and stuff like that, but and I know that Chris Eubank Jr. is not Terence Crawford before everyone starts atting me, but he obviously is a very talented coach. Yes, he's got a talented fighter, and there's that argument that a talented fighter makes a talented coach, but what Crawford achieved against Spence, whether or not it has any bearing on this at all, it was a dominant performance in a super fight, and Bomac was integral to that, surely.
Yeah, and also there's kind of two aspects to the trainer's role. There's in the gym and then there's on the night. And in the gym he might not have had that much time to do too much, but on the night someone like him could be really important. I mean, okay, obviously it didn't go Amir's way against Kell Brook, but I don't think there's anything really that he could have done about that. When you saw the performance, he was resolute in defeat, Amir. He did himself credit in the way that he hung in there, but he didn't really have the ability at that stage to do any more than that. And when you look back through boxing history, there are quite a few trainers who came in and finished off camps and were there basically for their ability on the night and during fight week. You know, think about Angelo Dundee, Ray Arcel to a degree, if you want to go back a bit further. And they're very, very valuable in real big fights. Eubank has given off this kind of vibe his whole career that he doesn't really listen to anyone. But in the eye of the storm on Saturday, if it gets really tough, I think he will listen to someone like McIntyre. I just think he will. And it could be really important.
Yeah. That atmosphere, we touched on it. I mean, virtually couldn't hear your co-commentator. It was incredible. I don't think I've really experienced an atmosphere like that. Maybe Frampton Quigg during Frampton's ring walk was like a jet engine taking off. But just wanted the amount of people that have stayed around. Liam's finished. Eubank still to go. It's standing room only. It's absolutely packed. There is still this Eubank factor. I'm sorry, but whether you like him, whether you hate him, whether you want him to see him win, whether you want to see him get knocked out, he makes people stop. And that is, yes, because of his father's name, but he plays a great game as well. He's got a personality that makes you want to watch.
He can evoke an emotion out of you. And he's not even being a legitimate top world-class fighter. And that's what Chris has done. So with Chris, put the work in like everybody else, the real work in like everybody else, and became a top fighter, he then afford to be able to stamp his name in the history books like his father did. But unfortunately, the problem is this. You know, he's not gotten both. He's got one, but not the other. We talked about Bo McCain on. Nobody's disrespecting his ability. What I'm disrespecting is the fact that Chris and him have not been together long enough for Chris to benefit off this enough to make a difference in this fight.
Yeah, well done for clarifying that. Yeah, the man is obviously a talented trainer. Your issue is time is your enemy in this respect.
Yeah, and that's why making such decisions like that 4.5 weeks out from a fight are clueless, ridiculous. I'm talking as the next fight, so I'm not talking as a civilian just having an opinion. I'm talking as the next fight. It makes a massive difference. And so, but in regards to Chris's achievements, apart from top-level success, second to none. That's why, for a fact, people around, and it's going to be absolutely banging. It's going to be such an atmosphere. They either love to hate him or love him, and he plays it so cool. He's actually far too intelligent for this game. Yeah. Because anybody he speaks to, he outsmarts them, talks them. The words he uses, I don't even know half the words he's using. This guy's a clever young man. And you know what? He's plied his trade to this side.
Before he gets in the ring, there was that really interesting moment in Gloves Are Off. You used the retirement word. You talk about me rubbing Liam up the wrong way. I mean, Chris did not like that one, did he? There's always that big fight out there for him against Conor Benn. But is retirement a realistic possibility if he gets knocked out again?
No, and I'll tell you why. He's had to swallow his pride. He had to swallow his pride coming down to London to record the Gloves Are Off. Liam walked in by himself, got the train from Liverpool to London, the tube from London to the studio, walked in hand in pocket, tracksuit bottoms. He came down with a crew. Chris came down with a crew. He knew he was going to be roasted because everything he said he was going to do, he couldn't do, and he got embarrassed. So he had to swallow his words. So therefore, he's come back in and said, you know what, he somehow tried to twist it a little bit to say it was the elbow, you were looking, X, Y, Z. Now if he loses again, he will do exactly the same again. He handled himself amazingly well for a fighter that had been knocked out after all the balls that he said he was going the first time. So Chris knows he's intelligent enough to put it in a compartment, put it in a box and say, right, move on. So if he loses, I don't think he does retire. I think his name is big enough for people to want to turn up and boo him or cheer him. I bet he's got more booers in an arena than cheerers, but they'll still want to come and watch, and that makes the difference.
But at what level would they be happy to do that? At what level would he be happy with Eubank? Because if he loses this fight, then his value, his market value, what he gets paid will drop. He won't be headlining pay-per-views. And will he be able to take that?
Okay, let's address the elephant in the room. Ben, you know that's the way it's going, because Ben and Eubank fighting each other is always going to be a big fight and always going to be an intriguing fight. So we know that's out there for him. Might not be anybody else, but that's out there for him, and that's a big money fight. So he may not be the A side, he may not get paid as much as what he wanted, but he'll get paid a hell of a lot for a fight that he could win, as far as he's concerned.
But outside of that, there's not much out there for him that would really appeal to him.
There isn't, and so that's when it's a really conversation, right, I'm out of here. Because I'm not going to be anybody's, beating stick.
No, he's not hanging around to be a name on a record. I mean, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, why not? Or I can come to him here. Sorry, I'm just having a discussion there as to whether or not we can get a couple of other people. Is it an external pressure, though? Like, I always worry when fighters say, my career's on the line, because that feels like, and it's the fighter putting that pressure on, because that's such a massive pressure you're putting on yourself. Like, I agree with Chris. Why put that retirement pressure on yourself if you get beat? It feels like sometimes... Maybe some people need that motivational pressure of, it is do or die now, but sometimes I think, is it worth it? You put yourself under a hell of a lot of pressure.
I don't know if I remember correctly, the first time these two had a conversation, but I'm sure they both said, I cannot afford to lose to you. I can't live. I think Chris said it, I think Liam said it, and Chris, they said it basically saying it's impossible. And so now the possible has happened, the impossible's happened. And I know when you talk about retirement, it's scary, because especially if this is all you do, this is what your life is. It's scary. So nobody wants to, once you say it, you're manifesting it. You can't unsay it. So to say I will retire, once it's come out your mouth, you're done. So that's why he didn't want to say it. And Liam actually was the one that put himself under pressure to say, I can't lose to her. There's no way. If I lose to her, I can't live with myself. That kind of pressure is horrible. So that's why these fighters won't say it openly.
Marcus Morrison, we're live on Sky Sports. I've just quickly grabbed you because you're walking past. Obviously, from someone that shared the ring with Chris Eubank Jr. and watching it first time round, and Liam being in your gym for all those years, you've got a real sort of take on this. How do you see this rematch going, bearing in mind what we saw in the first fight?
Yeah, this time round, I feel like what's going to happen this time is what I thought would happen in the first fight. I thought Liam would get him out of there, but I just didn't think he'd get him out of there in the fashion that he did, and not as early. I can see Liam getting him out there late on this time round. I think he could possibly have to weather an early storm. I think Eubank's going to come out fast, but I think Liam start to take over mid-rounds and start to bully him late on.
Having shared the ring with both of them in separate sort of scenarios, a fight scenario and a sparring scenario, I'm putting you in a difficult position here, but if Chris can change anything, what would it have to be to make a difference? That's difficult, isn't it? I'll put it on you there, I'm sorry.
It's a difficult one, but in terms of, well, put it this way, like, Liam's actually a better boxer than Eubank by quite a stretch. I think what Eubank has always done well, he's been a very good fighter, and the thing is as well, Liam's a very good fighter, but Liam's got to be able to weather an early storm. I think if Eubank starts fast, and I think the only success or the most success Eubank could have potentially is in the first 3 or 4 rounds. But like I said, I think once Liam weathers a potential early storm, and you've seen glimpse of it in the first fight, early on. He's got very quick hands, Eubank, and he's quite spiteful early on. But I just think it's a comfortable fight for Liam after 6 rounds. But like I said, Liam's got to stay sharp and switched on for the first 4 or 5 rounds.
Top man, look, I'm sorry to jump on you as you're walking past. Put you in an awkward situation. Marcus Morrison, ladies and gentlemen, always good to catch up with him. I'm actually going to grab SkySports.com extraordinaire boxing journalist John Dennon. John, one of the best atmospheres you've been in first time round. I knew it had captured the imagination, but I think that atmosphere was something I can't think of many better than that. Certainly at the Manchester Arena in our era.
Absolutely. On the night, it was spectacular. I knew Liam Smith was pretty popular, but I wasn't expecting him to have that kind of reception. It felt like a sort of triumphant homecoming, even though it was in Manchester, and it was a big moment for Liam in his career. And the event sort of lived up to the atmosphere in a way that none of us really expected the finish that Liam Smith produced. And it was, at the time, while I'm furiously sitting there trying to write an article for SkySports.com, I saw it with my own eyes. I didn't even know what happened.
Your brain couldn't register it. I think I was the same. I think you can see my stupid face on that commentary camera. I just couldn't compute what had happened.
commentary cam is spectacular. Get that on pay-per-view.
No, I've got to learn now because it can catch you out. I had a real stupid grin on my face of like I didn't know what the hell was going on. John, I'm going to stop you. I'm going to leave you very shortly because I'm going to take another risk and just wander my way over to Team Smith here. Now, I'm going to jump on him and I might get him in trouble. Paul Smith Jr., you're live on Sky Sports. Good to see you. First off, your amateur career, you look like you're really coming on now. Shades of your old man in there. How are you enjoying it? Down at the Rotunda, training alongside your uncle. It must be amazing.
Oh, it's brilliant, yeah. I've got a few fights at the Rotunda now. I'm glad my dad made me go there first, except for any other gym. No place like it. Everyone will tell you that who's in there.
He tortures you on Instagram, doesn't he?
Not half. It's bad, mate. I don't half get it on Instagram.
And what about Liam? I'm sure you're really confident this time round, but from what you've seen, the whole team, Joe McNally, Declan O'Rourke, they think that they're giving the odds. 1,000,000% we're knocking him out again. You agree with that?
I think Liam's got his number now. Eubank, every positive thing he had going into the first fight, punch resistance, granite chin, like he said, it's gone. And I don't think he's got punch resistance. And I think it'll be the same or worse fashion.
Top man, thank you for joining us. Hope I haven't got you in trouble there. And we can follow you. We'll show this in a few years when you're like topping the bill and the Echo. They'll use this interview, which I've lost a bit more weight to do it. So Paul Smith Jr. there, who's obviously following in his father's footsteps, and what a ridiculously talented family. When you think the four brothers and now the next generation following on as well. He's making us wait, Johnny. We thought he maybe would. Just looking around for a few faces. So he's in the boxer wagon there at the back. The anticipation, he is making us wait.
He's doing it in his own time because he can, and he knows. I just said earlier on, you know what? These people are here. They're hanging about for him to turn up to boo him. And when on Saturday night, they're going to boo him. And some fighters, his father was the same. I loved being booed. It made you fight better, But he's cashing in on that. And like, all right, then no problem. I'm going to make sure I'm that guy you love to hate. I'm that guy you love to boo. And so he's very comfortable with that. He knows exactly how to play this game.
So just picking out a couple of faces there with the white glasses on top of his head. Harlem Eubank, Chris's cousins, just making his way over. We're going to have a quick word with him. Can see all of Team Bomac. You got Red in the blue hat there. Brian Bomac McIntyre. All, huge success with Terence Crawford. Harlem Eubank in the house. Harlem, how are you? Come and join us up here. Yeah, come and join us up here. Damo, let's show Harlem because he's part of the team. How was Vegas, going over to camp and spending time with Chris in camp, and what can you sort of filter back to us that's not going to jeopardise trust?
It was great. It was great to see him in a proper setup. I haven't seen him training like that for a long time. Great to see him in a structure and training at an intensity that will stand him in good stead for this fight.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all laughing about it a little bit, but anyone that knows Chris, if we were ever doing any filming with Chris, it's from 3 o'clock onwards in the afternoon. You don't go in the morning because there's no point. But they've got him up and he's doing his morning session at 8 a.m. sharp, and you're there on time, and they've had to change. He has been willing to change his whole routine.
I could not believe it. I see this guy wake up at 8 a.m. ready for sessions. Even when I was late, he was there on time. I've never seen anything like it in my life before, so I'm excited to see what that will produce in the ring on Saturday night.
And from what you saw with the time they had with Bomac, it will be revenge in your eyes?
I think there's no other option.
No other option. Great to speak to you, Harlan. Thanks for coming and joining us. Now this is Chris Eubank Jr. making his way to the ring.
By way of knockout, ladies and gentlemen, introducing the former British IBO and WBA champion, ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Chris Eubank Jr.
Still so guess who's back?
There's new faces, there's new goals, but it is always still Dre by Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre. Eubank Jr., his career is surely on the line. And as predicted, it's a Liam Smith crowd and there are one or two boos, but you just sense that he loves this. I do think he loves it. Of course he would like to be cheered, But this fuels him. He loves it. That beat comes on, and you just feel like it is Eubank time.
It's his own time. He came out in his own time. He didn't care they booed him. He had a big smile on his face. Like, I think it couldn't have been a better smile than if they cheered him. You know, he knows he's done his job in regards to the PR, the build-up, people's impressions of it, and he's very comfortable with that.
So you've got Isa Aldiguez in the corner, who's doing the pads. Another member of that team Bomac, team Terence Crawford. Very, very talented coach. Got to spend a bit of time out with him in Colorado Springs when we were out there with Amir Khan. And very interesting what Harlem says there. He said structure. There is a structure to this camp. And yet, forgetting the time constraints, it is a very professional team. Everyone has a role, everyone has a job, and you adhere to those rules.
Yeah, and I think that comes with the territory of working with somebody with the kind of reputation that this team has got, because you know, it's not a given that you go to a team like this and ask them to train you that they're going to say yes. In Chris Eubank Jr.'s head, anyone in the world would want to train in Roy Jones' massive name. But they could have said no to this because they don't need to do it. And so when they then say, OK, let's do it, but here's the timetable for the week, that is what has to happen. Or they'll turn around and say to you, you know what, we don't need this. Go and find somebody else. And that's a good situation to be in. It's the only situation you can have between a fighter and their training team. The trainer has to be the boss in the gym, and I don't think there's any doubt that that's the dynamic we've got here. And it's just different, isn't it? Just looking at it now as to how it's been in the past, it's different. And that was the full Eubank, wasn't it? Just watching him backpedal around the ring. That was the full Eubank. And, you know, he can't abandon that now. You know, that's what he's done his whole career.
We haven't come this far to only come this far.
It also makes me think, does it mean there was no structure in the last camp?
Possibly there was less of a structure. Roy was training different.
For such a big fight, if you think you were going to get everything right, you do it in such a big fight. So there's something fundamentally wrong if you're thinking, well, we've got structure now. I'm like, why? You're learning a lesson after you've been turned over.
Because he thought that Liam Smith, in his words, was average ABC 1, 2, 3. That was the mistake that he made first time. You don't believe that?
I don't believe that. And he did his job in regards to fooling everybody else and thinking, I don't believe that. He's not an idiot. He's got an amazing shaped body. So that doesn't look like somebody that gave it 60%. Doesn't look like someone that just lived on KFC. So said the right things. Look at the reaction he's getting from the crowd. This is what he's done. He's engineered this. That's what he wants. So therefore, that side of it, fighters should learn from this. To get out that crossover appeal, to get evoking motion from the fans, love or hate, but make it part of your being who you are.
I mean, the song doesn't quite work because there are only two Chris Eubanks. But there is only one Chris Eubank Jr. He is an enigma. He's his own man, and love him or hate him, you're going to watch him. And that is never going to change, regardless of the results. But yeah, I mean, Manchester is always a fight crowd, isn't it? I can certainly see a Joseph Parker hoodie in the crowd. I can see some Team Smith t-shirts. I have actually seen some Eubank fans as well, although they're keeping themselves relatively quiet because they're outnumbered.
This is the draw he's got, though, isn't it? Because, I watched the overlap yesterday and I really enjoyed it. I thought I've always, as a personality, when you kind of listen to what he says and he goes a bit more in depth, I've always kind of liked him. I've never been one for this idea that you can't detach the kind of persona from the person more outside of the ring, or their fighting ability from their fighting persona. I've never had a real problem with that, but whenever I've heard Eubank speak at length or in depth about anything, it's always made sense to me. During fight week, he is what he is, he does what he does, and he would be infuriating to come up against. But the problem he's got this fight week is that Liam doesn't have to bite, because there's nothing to bite on. He just has to turn around, like we said before, and just say, okay, but what happened last time? It's a very straightforward job for Liam Smith. Very straightforward indeed.
If Chris manages to pull off this win, it is a monumental turnaround of a guy that got turned over. If he manages to pull it off, then you've got to put some spec on the back of his name.
Yeah.
Because this boy's like, after everybody saying what they're saying, all the doubts are out there, look what I've gone and done. So you've got, let's not forget, if he pulls it off, he's got to get the same respect that has been given the same amount of criticism after that fight.
As a fighter and as a human being with that amount of resolve to come back from your nightmare, your worst night in front of a global audience, you know, that says a lot about a human being. But he has to do it. That's the thing. What are you seeing here, Johnny, just with your fighter's eye? Look, he's not going to give us too much, but in terms of pad work, Bomac was very, very strong on this. Fundamentals and basics. That jab has to come back straight, can't come back low. You can't stand up tall like you did in the first fight. If he's going to make a difference, he has to learn.
So these things have got to be habit, because you can be told anything and everything for 4 or 5 weeks, whatever it is. But when you get tagged, when you get hit, you're going to go back to type. You're going to go back to
that muscle memory.
Yeah, you're going to go back to instinct. So these things are good when you're fresh, when you're on it, when you're on point. But when you lose concentration, it's gone. The one thing that did stand out to me is this. Remember when he dropped down in weight and all the hullabaloo about him getting down in weight, how dangerous it is. And he's there again. He's there, he's down in the weight, he's back on it again, so he's obviously comfortable. Because I'm quite sure because of negotiating.
Or professional, but comfortable, I don't know if that's an overused word, that he surely can't be comfortable at middleweight. I can't believe that,
Okay, so this fight could have always happened. And this fight could have always been, I'm quite sure they could have negotiated at a higher weight. To give him an excuse to say, well, it was the weight. But he's saying, no, I'm arrogant just to stay at the same weight and come back and tell you I can do it.
Yeah, but the rematch is on Liam's terms, so if Liam would have to budge.
Yeah, but you know what? He'd expose him. If he said, well, you won't do it another way. You know, I'm quite sure Liam would have budged. I'm quite sure he would have done that. I'm telling you now, the hullabaloo he made out about the weight, and this guy, unbeknownst to us how he's done it, he gets down to the weight and he's comfortable with it. And to keep it at that, given that what happened the last time. So I don't think the weight issue now is as bad as what we all thought.
Well, someone will be clipping that up and showing us on Friday if there's any trouble on the scales. I mean, it's not out of the question. Both are big guys, both are getting older, and it doesn't get easier, surely. But this is Eubank Jr. inviting the fans in. He's got a couple of boo boys there, and he's inviting them to come and join him in the ring. But it's done with a smile, I have to add. It's not serious. But he is a showman. I know he says nothing is done for show. You know, he doesn't play in this game, but he is a showman. There's a difference, but there is a difference there.
Andy, not many fighters can do it. Most fighters, look at Joe Kawasaki. Joe, unbeaten as a professional fighter, when he was in there, he was like trying to get blood out of the stone. There was no personality there. It's not until he finished, his personality came out, you realise how much of a nice, relaxed guy he is. But not many fighters are capable of getting themselves in fight mode, fight position, and still being able to sell it, to sell that character, get you into to being that sort of guy that you can engage with.
Apologies, I know it's live TV. I was just negotiating a post-workout interview there with Team Eubank, so apologies, I haven't just disappeared. Yeah, but I like an open workout where they do something.
Yeah, so do I. It's always good to see them get the gloves on and move around, even if it's just a little bit, particularly with this scenario where he's got a new team around him. But I just think with someone like Eubank, fight week, it's something that he enjoys so much because he loves the spotlight. I think if there's ever any kind of problem with motivation or anything like that, then it disappears during fight week because this is his drug of choice. He's addicted to this.
This is why he does it.
Yeah. This is why he does it. And I think in the situation he's in, where his back is against the wall, it'll work even more for him because he'll be thinking to himself, maybe he won't be, but maybe there'll just be a tiny bit of him in his brain. He'll be thinking, I've got to get back on this platform again. I've got to be on this big stage again. This is what it's all about for me. And if I don't win on Saturday, this might all go away. And I think it all going away for someone like him is probably a more scary thought than it might be for others.
So Saturday night, live on Sky Sports box office from the AO Arena, Manchester. Will it be repeat? Will it be revenge? Liam Smith, Chris Eubank Jr. are running it back for a second time. Immediate rematch. Liam Smith won that first fight in explosive and, quite frankly, dramatic style. And that's what's led us to this point here. Can he do it again? Chris Eubank, can he right in his eyes what would be a wrong? These are all the questions that we will surely get answers to in the next few days. I'm expecting a hostile press conference. Don't know about you guys. I'm probably going to have a bit of a sleepless night worrying about that tonight because I'll be chairing it. But, you know, I think both guys are going to talk their talk. I don't think we're going to have a tepid or timid press conference, certainly.
No, I would agree with that. I mean, Eubank, he'll have something up his sleeve, I think, because I think he'll know that obviously the usual kind of shtick where you look to try belittle and patronise your opponent isn't going to work. He's never been in this situation before. Obviously he's lost before, but he didn't go back into any kind of a rematch, let alone an immediate rematch. Here he's going back into an immediate rematch with someone who's done the unthinkable to him. And for him it absolutely was. It was unthinkable, it was impossible, it was just never really on his radar. So it'll be interesting to see how he tries to handle that, because in the gloves are off, he kept it for him pretty low key, I thought. He kind of had to let Liam have his props to a degree, but that won't work tomorrow. That's no good now that we're where we are, which is just a couple of days out. So I'm kind of fascinated to see what he's going to do and whether Liam will rise to it in any way, because like I say, the answer for him to every question is really, really simple. But Eubank has got this amazing ability to wind people up. There's just a natural ability to antagonise people. I mean, it wouldn't seem possible that you can antagonise your opponent when he's just done to you what Smith has done to him. But if anyone can do it, it's him, isn't it?
Yeah. And that first press conference was quite rightly widely condemned. But the rematch press conference was comical in parts. Obviously, with the Roy Jones towel story was a great line by Chris. But there was a great line in there where Liam said, "What happened, Chris? What happened?" And Chris said to him, "You're going to make me say it, aren't you?" Yeah, that's what you want. You want me to say it. And there is a dynamic between these two that, in a war of words, and I'm not glossing over that first press conference, but they do have the ability to press each other's buttons. And Johnny, you know, you've done both gloves are off. They do have the ability to push each other's buttons. And I think for big fight fans, you do warm to that. You quite enjoy seeing that.
Andy, I think they're friends. They're friends. They'll never go for a drink with each other. Never be those kind of friends. But I think there's a respect between the two of them. But there's a professionalism between the two of them as well. When it comes to fighting, the friendship's out the window. And so, regardless of what was said the first time and the second time round, these two have a mutual respect away from the game of boxing. And which, to me, I love. Because they can put it in a box and put it one side and say, I'm getting my job done. You know, and I like that. I see through that.
It makes me laugh that you say friends. I'll disagree. I don't think they will ever be friends, but I do think that there is a barrier of respect now that's been built around them. I think, but that's fighters. I think you guys, you do something different, don't you? You know, you punch each other until you can no more. I don't think we're going to get hugs with these. There was a respect last time, and regardless of what was said about elbows and excuses, Chris was advised by the doctors not to come to do a post-fight interview, and he wanted to come and pay his respect to Liam in the win, and that was the mark of the man. You know, against better judgment, he should have gone. Yeah, that's what you're saying.
And there were apologies of things that were said and done afterwards. And I know it's weird for people to try and understand, and especially if you've never laid a glove on. But most fighters actually don't. A few hate each other, but most fighters don't dislike each other because it's a brotherhood, and you know how much it takes, you know what it costs, you know the commitment you've got to give. So it's hard for me to understand, but trust me, there's a friendship there. Not a go out for a drink friendship. Phone, how you going, mate? But there's a friendship there.
I'm going to. We're live on this stream. I'm just going to wander down. I can see Kalle Sauerland is in within arm's distance. We're third in the queue for an interview. I'll come back here. Kalle Sauerland, we're live on Sky Sports just while we're waiting for Chris to do a couple of interviews. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Andy. In the sun of Manchester.
I know. I need to talk about those sunglasses where you got them afterwards. But Now, I'm really interested. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that rematch clause that we spent so long talking about that we never thought that we would need, in your words, and here we are.
You're blaming it all on me,
no,
are you? You're blaming it all on me again.
I'm thanking you now.
No, I'm happy to be the scapegoat because I think we're going to get a real treat here on Saturday night. Liam's going to think he can do it again, and I'm telling you one thing, Junior is amped. He's in a place of deep thoughts in the last weeks. I'm seeing he's got into himself this week. We're going to see an absolute masterclass performance Saturday night.
The other side are very confident.
And by the way, I don't think it's going to be anything complicated. He's going to go in there and put it on him, right? That's what it's going to be. It isn't about last time I think he tried too much to box, to move. Junior has made his career based on going in there and doing a number on someone and putting it right on them from the first round. I think we're going to see a fight that won't take long to warm up.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people saying that. Whether or not it turns out that way, I think deep down we all feel that...
I don't think there's a warm-up in this one.
No,
it's not going to be a 1 or 2 rounds where they look at each other.
You don't think?
No, absolutely not. They've had that session already. No, this is going to be straight down and dirty. It's going to be extremely brutal while it lasts. And, Eubank's going to do the revenge.
And then we'll have a third one. Right, I've got to get back, so I don't want to keep him on, but thank you, Calasowell and Chris Eubank Jr.'s promoter. So let's just make our way back up here. Chris is just chatting to our colleagues at Sky Sports News, and then do we think that we will be next? Oh, we do. So I'm just going to split my trousers coming up here and let's see what he has to say. So if you've been joining us today, we will be streaming tomorrow's press conference again here from Manchester. So wherever you consume this stream today, come back and consume it tomorrow. We'll have more special guests, undercard as well. The undercard press conference will be all part of the same stream. Really good undercard. Adam Azim, Aaron Fanyan, Fraser Clark against David Allen, Mark Heffron against Jack Cullen. Many more fights on the bill we're looking forward to. Michaela Mayer's back over here for a third consecutive UK fight. And of course, we've got that really good fight between Florian Marcoux and Dylan Moran. If it's anything to go by, the first fight was very entertaining build-up. This has got all the hallmarks of a similar one. Let's just have a look one last time at Chris Eubank Jr. Just talking to our colleague at Sky Sports News, Eleanor Roper. He's obviously spent this camp over in Las Vegas, training with Bomac, Brian McIntyre, and the team. That's a very successful team that we're working with. Terence Crawford, of course, off the back of that terrific win. I mean, that show-stopping win against Errol Spence Jr. So they're coming in confident. Liam Smith, he's made his way. He's already worked out. Obviously, the crowd were on his side. The fans were here for him. He didn't wait around for Chris. He said, I don't need to wait for this. And delighted to say that we've had some sunshine as well, which it's always a risk doing these open workouts outside. So to have a little bit of sunshine makes a real difference. We've also got a couple of fights on our Sky Sports social media channels as part of our stream. Should be seeing Frankie Stringer and Lauren Price earlier in the night. Always good to see gold medalist and British champion Lauren Price continuing her professional development. Now Chris is just wrapping up here, and we will just hopefully get one quick word with him. I won't keep him for too long. Chris, just for 60 seconds, we're live on Sky Sports. Let me take my glass off, don't want to be rude.
We're live?
We are live, so...
You've got these animals shouting in the background, you better hope they don't catch any swear words over there.
I am hoping, yeah, welcome to my world. You got the friendly reception that you were surely expecting. It's not surprising now, but I wonder if it fuels you. Yeah, of course you'd like to be cheered, but I wonder if this fuels you, the Boo Boys.
Listen, it's actually a mixed crowd. We've got a section over there which really are hoping I get knocked out on Saturday, and you've got other people around which are cheering for me, and that's how it's kind of been my whole career. It's Marmite, love me or hate me, and that's what I like. I don't want to be one of these neutral guys who no one really has any real opinion about, or real love or hate or feelings. I want you to have some passion, even if it's hate. Have some passion, have some feel, have some excitement around my fights. Whether you want me to win or lose, the fans, the haters, they know that they're going to see an awesome event, a high octane fight. I bring it every time I get in the ring. and people appreciate that. So it's going to be no different this time around. Saturday night, we're going to go out there and we're going to do the job.
You made it very clear you can't afford to make any mistakes this time round. A wounded animal is a dangerous animal. Is this the most motivated you've ever felt coming into a fight to right a wrong in your eyes?
I believe so. Yeah, this is the first time I've gone into a fight, as an underdog in a rematch. So it brings a new mindset, man. It brings a new mentality, a new focus, a new determination that I haven't had for a long time. And I'm excited to see how that transfers over once that bell goes.
Are you at peace with the situation at the moment? This is the first time that you've had to walk to the ring off the back of being stopped. That had never happened to you before. How are you coping with that? Have you been able to turn that into motivation and turn a negative into a positive?
It's either going to make you or break you. A lot of fighters after a loss, they shell up. They lose their confidence. They're not the same. For me, I use it. I use that energy. I use that pain. I use that frustration to fuel the fire. So it's okay. I'm happy. I'm good. I'm in a good place. I'm in a good mindset. I'm an underdog. That's okay. We'll see what happens when that bell goes.
My final question to you, because I know you've got other media commitments. Liam Smith, only half an hour ago, he said 1,000,000%, him and his team, 1,000,000% we knock him out again. Now you're an odds man, you're a poker player, but those are pretty good percentages. 1,000,000% they're sure.
That's a big percentage. I hope he can back up those words, because I just don't see it. This isn't going to be like last time where I go in there relaxed and comfortable and unaware of what's in front of me. He's set that fire. He's alerted me. I know what's in front of me now. There will be no mistakes. There will be no openings. There will be no quarter given. I'm going to take this man out.
We will see you tomorrow at the press conference. Thank you for joining us live on Sky Sports. Chris Eubank Jr. Will it be repeat or will it be revenge? That is all that we have got time for today on the stream. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for staying with us. I hope you enjoyed it, and make sure you come back tomorrow where